Hi, Applied Statistics students. In this video, you're going to learn how to calculate standard deviation, both by hand and by using Excel. You might want to have your worksheet open. That way you can follow through the steps. However, the example I'm doing does have different data than what you'll see in your assignment. Standard deviation tells us how spread out the data is. A smaller standard deviation means the values are closer together. Calculating standard deviation by hand has multiple steps. I find it easier to do this if you have a table to help organize your work. The first step is to find the mean, or the average. Remember, the mean is when you add all the numbers together and divide by the number of values. In step 2, we'll find the difference between each value and the mean. We're going to make this positive. So you can always subtract the bigger one minus the smaller one, or just write down a positive number. In step 3, we square this. Again, remember, squaring a number always makes it positive. So if in step 2 you forgot to make your numbers positive, make sure that all of your answers in step 3 are positive. In step 4, we find the average again, but this time we're finding the average of those differences. And finally, in step 5, we take the square root. That gives us the standard deviation. Sounds like a lot of steps, but we'll work through it slowly together, and keeping your work organized will really help. So in the example I'm doing, I have the data over here on the left: 11, 4, 6, 9, 8, 4, 7, and 3. I'm going to start by finding the average. To find the average, we'll add those together. So 11 plus 4 plus 6 plus 9 plus 8 plus 4 plus 7 plus 3. That gives us a total of 52. We divide by the number of values. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So divided by 8 gives me a mean of 6.5. I'm going to go ahead and actually fill that in each row under step 1. Now I'm ready to move to step 2. Here I find the difference. So I'm going to take the original data minus the mean. So 11 minus 6.5. That gives me 4.5. Then my next one is 4 and 6.5. I can type it as 4 minus 6.5. Notice that gives me a negative number, but I just want the difference. So I'm going to write it as a positive 2.5. The other way you could do it is to just take the big minus the small. So for example, in my next one, I have 6.5 and 6. So 6.5 minus 6 is 0.5. 9 minus 6.5, 2.5. Okay, so I used my calculator to fill out the rest of that column, and I typed them in. You can pause and subtract them on your own if you want. In step 3, we square that number. So I'm going to take the green column and square each of them. Remember, squaring means that you multiply it by itself. On your calculator, you should see a squared button. So my first one is 4.5 squared, 20.25. If you can't find a squared button, you can multiply by itself. So my next one is 2.5. I could do 2.5 times 2.5. 0.5 squared is 0.25. So I finished that step for us. So again, I took all of the green numbers from step 2 and squared them. Make sure they're all positive. Put that in step 3. Step 4 is to find the average of that last column. So I'm just adding all my numbers in the blue row. Okay, so my total is 54. I'm going to divide that by the number of values. Remember, I had 8 values. So 6.75 goes in step 4. That value is actually called the variance. Then to find the actual standard deviation, we take the square root of step 4. Again, your calculator should have a square root button. So square root of 6.75 is 2.598. Remember, we typically like to round to 1 or 2 decimal places. So I'm going to say that my standard deviation is 2.6. What that tells us is that from the mean of 6.5, most of my data are 2.6 above that to 2.6 below that. At this point, you might want to stop the video and on your assignment, complete sheets 1 and 2. Then come back and we'll learn how to do this on your using Excel. So hopefully now you've had a little practice calculating standard deviation by hand. As you found, there are quite a few steps and a lot of numbers to type in. Now we're going to learn how to do this using Excel. And this process is pretty fast and easy. Basically, there's 3 steps. We're going to type the data into Excel. In this case, I already have it. We'll type it in as a column. Then right below that, we're going to type a formula for standard deviation. You'll see in Excel, there's a couple different ones. We want to make sure to use the one that's stdev.p. And then we just highlight the numbers we want and click enter. So let's do it. Okay, so I'm going to put my cursor right down here below my list of values. And I'm actually going to type in the formula box. That's up at the top. Make sure you use that equals. And notice as I start to type, formulas will come up. Again, make sure you're using the one .p. Then we need to tell it what we're finding the standard deviation of. So you're just going to highlight that row of numbers, or that column of numbers, excuse me, and hit enter, and it calculates the standard deviation for us. So in this case, the standard deviation was 24.17. So again, that tells us that from the mean, our values are 24 above and 24 below that. So these are quite a bit more spread out. And looking at the values, that makes sense because you can see I have like an 18 and a 99. So this is a much larger spread. As you saw, doing this with Excel is considerably faster and less room for error. But on the worksheet, I will want to see that you were able to do it by hand first. And then there's a couple where you're practice using Excel. Thanks for watching my video. Please reach out if you have other questions as you're doing your worksheet. Hope you're having a great day. Bye.